When you think that things are falling apart all around you, can you stand strong in me? Yes, the wind is coming and it's coming to see how strong you can stand. Can you still trust me when things are going wrong in your life? Because I am still in control. And I say to you, the wind is coming and it's going to see those who can stand in me, those who are firmly rooted in me, because the wind is going to separate the chaff from the wheat. The wind is coming. Be strong, stand firm.
God desires you to carry His presence. God desires you to carry His glory. Now the scripture I want to use today is it's an Old Testament scripture. It's a story in 1 Samuel chapter 6. Now build a new cart and find 2 milk cows that have just given birth to calves. Make sure the cows have never been yoked to a cart. Hitch the cows to the cart, but shut their calves away from them in a pen. Put the ark of the Lord on the cart, and beside it place a chest containing the gold rats, gold tumors. This was an offering for what they'd done, as a guilt offering. Then let the cows go wherever they want. If they cross the border of our land and go to Beth Shemesh, we will know it was the Lord who brought this great disaster upon us. If they don't, we will know it was not His hand that caused the plague. It came simply by chance. So these instructions are carried out. The 2 cows are hitched to the cart, and their newborn calves are shut up in a pen. Then the ark of the Lord and the chest containing the gold rats, gold tumors were placed on the cart. And sure enough, without veering off in other directions, the cows went straight along the road toward Beth Shemesh, lowing as they went. The Philistine rulers followed them as far as the border of Beth Shemesh. The people of Beth Shemesh were harvesting wheat in the valley, and when they saw the ark, when they saw the glory, they were overjoyed. The cart came into the field of a man named Joshua and stopped beside a large rock. So the people broke up the wood of the cart for a fire and killed the cows and sacrificed them to the Lord as a burnt offering. Now, previous to this, like I said, it was a battle. The Israel had been defeated, had been slaughtered, and the ark of God, the glory of God, the presence of God had been captured. Now, to let you understand how important the glory of God was to some people in the Bible, to people in this scripture, some men escaped the battle scene and they fled back to the camp. Eli the priest was there waiting for him. And Eli demanded, what happened? The man replied, Israel has been slaughtered, thousands have been killed, your 2 sons have died in the battle, and the glory of God has been captured. Now, it says there that the man came and he said to Eli, the glory of God has been captured. When the man told Eli that everybody had been slaughtered, even his 2 sons had been slaughtered, he never batted an eyelid. And then it says, when he made mention that the glory had been stolen, he fell back, he broke his neck, and he died. That is how important the glory of God was to him. Not only that, his daughter-in-law was pregnant. When she heard that the glory had departed, she gave birth and she died. The midwife named her child Ichabod, meaning the glory is gone. The glory has departed. That is how important the glory of God was to some people. How important is the glory of God in your life? But God allowed these 2 simple dairy cows to carry the glory of God. Now, the scripture says that these cows had never been yoked, they never pulled anything, they never hauled anything before, and to make it worse, they'd just given birth to calves. Now, that makes these 2 cows unqualified. That makes these 2 cows unqualified to carry the presence of God. You know, every one of us in here are unqualified to carry the glory of God. Every one of us are unqualified to carry the presence of God. But we don't have to be qualified to carry the presence. So many times we think we have to be qualified to carry the presence of God. It's a joke. All we have to do is be willing to carry the glory of God. Is it your responsibility? Yes, it is. It's your responsibility. You know, that is why the church is not moving. Because people think they've got to have experience. People think we've got to be qualified. We don't have to be experienced. We don't have to be qualified. You just need to be willing to carry the glory of God. You just need to be willing to move out and step out in things you've never done before. Willing to carry the glory of God. These cows, they're unqualified, they're inexperienced. They've never been yoked, they've never been pulled, they've never hauled anything, they've never ever had a harness put in their back. You know, if God asks us to do things that we're good at, if God asks us to do things that we're experienced in, why would we need God? Why would we need God? That's why God will ask you to do things out of the ordinary. That's why God will ask you to do things that you've never done before, out with your boundaries, out with your comfort zone, things you don't have experience in. You know, things that, you know, I can't do this anymore. God says, exactly, that is why you need me. God doesn't necessarily call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He qualifies the called. It's amazing. Now, another thing about these calves and these cows, they said, take away their calves. Take away their babies, lock them up in a pen where they can't see them. Take away the thing that they love most. Take away the thing that they're most comfortable with. And if they still go, we'll know it's God. To get the glory to where it's supposed to be, to get the glory into the house of God, to get the glory into your life, sometimes you are going to have to do things you're not comfortable with. Sometimes you are going to move out with your comfort zone. Sometimes you are going to move out within your own limitations and boundaries. Boundaries that you've set for yourself, saying, I won't go beyond here. Or I won't go beyond here. God says, get used to being uncomfortable. This is the big thing. Now, this could stop you in your tracks. This will stop you dead. Verse 19. Sounds quite scary. But the Lord killed 70 men from Beth Shemesh because they looked into the ark of the Lord. And the people mourned greatly because of what the Lord had done. Because of what the Lord had done. So near them who did it. Think about it. But the Lord killed 70 men from Beth Shemesh because they looked into the ark of the Lord. And the people mourned greatly because of what the Lord had done. Now, when they brought, this is when the Ark of the Covenant went back to Beth Shemesh, back into the house of God, back to where it belonged. The glory of God was now back to where it's supposed to be, back in the house of God. It says here, they looked into the Ark. They looked into the Ark. Now the only way, quite simple, the only way they could look into this Ark was to remove the lid. Or remove the covering of the Ark. The covenant, the glory. Now, to understand what I'm trying to say here, we've got to understand what was in the Ark. What were they looking in at? What were they looking into? That lid covered the pure law of God that man had broken. Now, it came in three parts, as we know. One was man's sin against God. Not only did it contain man's sin against God and man's relationship with God, but it contained our relationship with others. Wrong that we have done to others, and wrong that others have done to us. Inside that ark was the law that no man could possibly keep. Inside that ark was the law that was an impossibility to keep. Now, even though we have all sinned at times, and we have all fallen short of the glory of God. We have all wronged God, if we're honest. We have all wronged others, and others have all wronged us at times. God said, I will make a covering for the wrong. And that covering had to do with the lid, because the blood was applied as a covering. And when God looked down, he said, I see the blood. I see the blood as a covering for all the wrong that man has done. For all the wrong that everyone has done. The blood, the death of an animal, shed its blood, covered that sin. But to look into the sin, to look into that, you had to take the lid off. You had to remove the covering. And when the lid was removed, when the covering is removed, there is no longer a covering for our sin against God. There is no longer a covering for our sin against others. There's no longer a covering for others' sin against us. And if there is no covering, the sin is there. It's exposed. The sin is there. And my Bible says that sin leads to death. Now, when I get a drop deed, don't worry, we're under a new covenant. But to look into sin that God has already forgiven has got to ruin you.
That's right.
It's got to ruin you. These people stole the Ark of God and they couldn't handle it, and it killed them. To look into sin, I mean, there are some things that we should never, ever remove the lid from. See if I do something wrong. College says, look at me. And the other saying, looks could kill. In this case, it did. Couldn't get a dig some way. If looks could kill. In this case, it did. What am I saying here? What am I trying to say? Never, ever, ever remove the lid or remove the covering of sin that God has already forgiven. If God has forgiven it, then He has forgiven it. It's covered, the lid's on, it's done, it's dusted, it's finished. While he's in prison, he interpreted dreams. And he says to the guy, remember me, when he get out, remember me. The guy forgot him. He was in prison years and years and years. Now you think about the life of Joseph. He married a Gentile bride, so did Jesus. He had two sons. The first son he named Manasseh. Now Manasseh means to forget. You might think, what a joke. How can I forget what happened 20 years ago? It was horrendous. The physical abuse, the verbal abuse, whatever you faced in life. Manasseh means to forget. Well, we kind of physically, if somebody comes to you and says, forget it, it's quite a joke, is it? It's about trouble. We kind of just erase horrendous things from our memory. We've got to understand what forget means. Forget means not to erase it from your memory. Forget in that context means to be refused to be bound by past events. To be refused to be bound by past events. He said, he named his second son Ephraim. What does Ephraim mean? It means to be fruitful. Because Joseph chose to forget, he made a decision to refuse to be bound by his past. Because of that decision, didn't forget it. Of course he never forget what went on in his life. How could he? But he refused. But because he refused to be bound by his past, then he was fruitful in his ministry. That's a guy who's never ever got to be fruitful in your lives, fruitful in your family, fruitful in your ministry, fruitful in your calling of God, unless first you make a decision to forget. And unless you make that decision to refuse to be bound by the things that's going on in your life.